Good evening and welcome to the first layer. He's speaking in my ear and threw me off. But
Yes,
that's
I
okay.
am.
You know that guy. You know that guy. That's Brian. I'm
Hi.
Richard. Welcome to Ask for Help. This is the first layer live stream, which we do on Saturday nights. I admit we haven't been around for a few weeks. It has been a turbulent time here in my home. Thank you to everybody that sent along their well wishes over the course of the last 3 weeks. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. But now it's time to focus on work and get back into the swing of things. With me tonight again is Brian Baker, my co-host, my friend, and my partner in this whole 3D printing adventure.
Hello, lovelies. Glad to be back. And as you can tell, I've got a bit of a crop frame here because I'm playing with a different lens. But we can always move to my second camera I've got now. So, la-di-da, here we go. We got nice, big, wide space to show off parts and everything. So, I'm going to stick for the close-up for now, and we'll play with it as we need to show things tonight. But I finally got the new camera working, so I am not complaining.
All right, let's get into saying hello to some people that have been sticking around here and were early before we got here. Joseph Jolly, he's here tonight. And then we've got Robert 954 all the way from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Ben Brady from Texas, our good friend. There's Jason Peters from PA. Trevor Rickard. Mark Thibodeau from Ontario. Pierre is from Edmonton, the Scarecrow, hello. We've got RT, our good friend Richard, and Snapshot FPV, hello. 3D Print Newbie in Milan, hello to you as well. We're going to be taking your questions tonight. Why do I look
Come on,
like
camera,
I'm...
focus. Yeah, focus. Focus.
Why am I out of focus?
Wow.
Wow.
What did you do?
I don't know.
Hey, there we go. Come on.
There we go.
Come on. Oh, you still out of focus? Come on.
No, I'm
there we
good
go.
now.
Technology.
Holy cow.
I love it.
Wow. I don't know what happened there. Maybe it just wanted to be the Brian show. Brian's probably got me hexed tonight, maybe. I don't know.
No more than usual.
Hey, there's Joseph Neska. And welcome everybody to our Saturday night live stream. We're going to be taking your questions tonight during the show for the next hour, and we've got a couple of emails to go through as well. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about resin printing. For those of you guys that are in our chat tonight that are resin printers or like to use a resin printer, an MSLA printer for lack of a better term, I want to hear your thoughts on this. First, I'm going to throw out the question of the night. What is your favorite resin to use? Now, we know there's all kinds of resins out there. There's water washables, there's regular style resins, and there's all different kinds of manufacturers. My favorite is resin from Phrozen. Now, I'm not saying this because Phrozen is sponsoring us in any way, shape, or form, but this is their Phrozen blue, aqua blue. And this is their Frozen Aqua Green. And I got to tell you that these resins, they're not overly thick like I find with resins from Monocore, for instance. Monocore has a fairly thick resin. These print beautifully every time, and I never see any layer lines. So let us know what type of resin that you like. We got 3D printing and painting. Our good friend Jerry Knapp in the house tonight. He says he likes the CR-10 3D printing resin.
I've never seen that one actually.
It's all over. It's all over Amazon. You can find it on Amazon.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yep.
I bought so much Elegoo back when it came out just to stock up that I'm still working through it.
See, I was using the resin from Monocore for the longest time because that's what I used in my D7 when I was running the D7 from Wanhao, and I always found it to be kind of hit and miss, and it's a very thick resin. It's like it's like pouring eggnog, like a thick eggnog into the vat, whereas this stuff is more like pouring milk into your vat.
Oh, weird. So it's not viscous at all.
No, it's very thin, and it doesn't stick to the scraper, the plastic scraper when you're kind of it just kind
Yeah, I
of
might have
flows
to.
right off. Yeah, it's really nice resin. I really like it. And it seems to work well, both in mono screened machines and LCD machines. So, yeah. So it to me, it's a really good resin. What do we got
Yeah,
going on here in the chat? Am I missing anything?
nothing really. Just a pretty quiet night. I mean, it's for those of you who don't know, we've been getting a lot of snow out here, so it's kind of cold. We've been
Yes.
kind of huddled down. Flu shots just became available, so I'm a little slower tonight after getting that shot there yesterday. But basically, there hasn't been a lot going on our side actually. We're just getting all of our production ramped back up. You can see all the machines. Let's see if I can go to that. Da-da-da-da. You can see all of my 6 machines out of 10 behind me there, and none of them are doing anything right this moment, actually. So I'm just starting to get them all fired up here. The Wanhao D6 has been busy with ABS prints for upgrading parts on my CR-10S V. I've been on bringing a part up because I was going to show you guys what happens when you use PLA in a slightly warmer environment. And in this case, it was my extruder motor running a little bit warmer, and everything looked fine. And then when I took it off afterwards, I had a lot of warping, and so I've since replaced that with an ABS part. Yeah, they're just starting to fire up again. I'm always looking for cool new models too. So if you guys have something cool you found on Thingiverse, send us the Thing ID in there in the chat, and we'll take a look at it and maybe
Yeah.
throw it on one of the machines.
Absolutely. All right, so we got a question here from Mike Kirk Jr. He says, "Hey guys, I'm surfing Amazon right now. I need an extruder for one of my Anycubic chirons. Is it left hand or right hand? I constantly get confused with that. And what about BMG? BMG would definitely be a good add-on to the chiron, and I believe it is left hand. It is left hand, I believe. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it's left hand.
Yeah, I'm looking it up because I always get them mixed up too. But I believe, let me look up. Almost all the Creality stuff is the same. It just depends on which way you're mounting it through. And since they all reside on the left side, I'm gonna have to look. It's been a while. Extruder. What was the last thing I bought on Amazon here?
I don't know. What was the last thing you bought on Amazon?
The dual gear, the Leo way, but it doesn't say what side that is. I'm pretty sure left-handed is correct, though.
I think it is left-handed.
And I think it's associated with which side of the printer it feeds in on.
Correct.
But I could be wrong on that, too. I'm wrong on a lot of things.
Hey, we're hobbyists just like you guys. We have to look stuff up from time to time.
Let's see here. Okay, so the left-hand ones... actually, they might be right-hand for
the
Creality.
Chiron? For the Chiron?
Well, the Chiron, which side does that mount on?
Well, the Chiron, I believe, is a left-handed.
Let's take a look here. Now here you go. Let us know in the chat for a bunch of idiots too. Okay, yeah, the Chiron, that's right. So that one feeds from the right side of the printer, which means it's a left-handed extruder.
Correct.
Yeah, so basically Creality will be right unless it's on the opposite end. So if you're looking at the front of the printer with the control box facing you, whatever side it's on, it's the opposite hand.
Right.
That's my understanding right now.
Correct.
And you know what? That's a great question because that is confusing all to hell. And if I recall correctly, I actually ordered the wrong direction one once. You can do it with certain printers and run it both ways, but you have to have room for the lever to be able to swing in. And most of the time, if you order the wrong one on a Creality, you're hitting your Z rod.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
All right, Sid Phyllis. He says, would it be easier for me to forgive my dad or for cheating on my mom if he didn't insist that I watch? I'm not sure that relates to what we're doing, but
one of these days I will teach Richard the things of reading before speaking.
Yeah.
I consider us getting trolls as popular. Yeah.
We don't get trolled very often, but when we do, It's kind of a funny question, but
It means we have a few viewers.
we have a few viewers. Dennis Allard says, "Hi Richard, do you think the Ender 3 glass heated bed will work on the Mingda 2D or D2?" Yes, I do. Absolutely, it will. The beds are exactly the same size. So
build plates, usually material, unless you need a special magnet, they're all it's all based off dimensions. So if you go online and you need some for your CR-10S, for instance, any 310 by 310 bed will suffice. If you're getting an Ender 3 or a Mingda or a 2 Trees or any other printer in there, most of the time their build volume is 235 by 235 on the bed. Any of those will work.
Yep, you bet. They're pretty much interchangeable at this point. Pab TV, any updates for adding BLTouch to the CR-10S? There have been no updates as far as I know. The latest update, I think, from Creality is about a year old.
BLTouch is pretty refined at this point. Last time I checked, Paris hasn't released anything past, I want to say the 3.1 for BLTouch revisions, but the assemblies are still the same. The software config is still the same up through Marlin. And right now with my 10S5, I'm getting a average deviation of 0.001025 or something ridiculously small. So BLTouch is still extremely reliable. We were actually talking a little about this before the show today, but kind of my BLTouch trick for the week is make sure all the BLTouch wires stay far away from your heat cartridge, from your motor cables, etc. Because most of the failures I found with deviation was a result of electrical noise bouncing from those other wires. They're not high quality wires usually, so they're not shielded like crazy. But in my case, my deviation jumped to 0.642 or something ridiculous, and I had a look at it, and I found that my heater cartridge cables were within a very close proximity to those end stop ones. So if you can find a way to isolate it, even tape it, closer to the BLTouch and away from them with a little bit of electrical tape, you're going to find the precision of that sensor is going to go way up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's get to a question that we have from email. This is from Pierre Blanchard, and Pierre, I believe, is in our chat this evening. He says, "Can I use two different TMC drivers?" The quick question to that is yes, but let me continue on with his question. "Having the TMC 2209 sensorless driver for the X and Y and use the 2208 for Z, I'm upgrading my Ender 5 Plus with Chimera and sensorless drive." Yes, you can do it. You are going to have to make changes in the firmware to reflect those different drivers, and that should be all you have to do, because the TMCs, if I'm not mistaken, in new software revisions or the firmware revisions that have come out, once you've put those numbers in, it automatically calls on all the protocols that it needs to run those, first of all, in silent mode, and secondly, for any of the other add-ons that they may have, like sensorless homing. The other thing you may you may have to do is move some jumpers around on the board. I'm not sure what board you're going to be using, but that Brian.
So, yeah, the 2208 and 2209 are practically identical. They're both UART-based controllers. The 2209 can handle, I think, up to 1.6 amps of continuous current versus the 1.2. So the first thing I was going to say is, out of all the things in there, you should probably consider actually keeping a 2209 on the Z as well, even if you're not going to use it for sensorless homing, because simply put, it will run cooler. Now, if all you have is two 2209s and you want them on the X and Y for that, then by all means go for it. Check into the details for your boards too, because there are several boards where you need to set a specific jumper to use those sensorless homing pins. The Big Tree, for instance, a lot of their boards require you to set that setting. Yep. And they take a lot of tuning. I don't really recommend sensorless homing to most people, especially if your intention is to use something like power recovery or power loss recovery, because it's just simply not repeatable enough. I tend to find you're either giving far too leniency on the crash parameters, or you're setting it so sensitive that all it takes is just the wrong breathing mid-print, and then it thinks it's at an end stop and jumps way off. So you get lots of layer shifts and ugly stuff. I would say still stick with the end stops if you can. it's just not worth the extra headache. But the 2209s, if you're ever in the market for a 2209 versus a 2208, buy the 2209 because you're going to get for the same price more power overhead and more features.
There you go. The Lewis Eric, is it worth replacing all moving wires with silicone wire to avoid usage stress?
It's a bit of a...
It's a pain in the
yes.
backside, but
Yeah.
it's a definite upgrade in the wiring harnesses of your 3D printer. Where that can be a problem is depending on what type of heat bed that you have, that can be a problem. And I've found in my experience that if you're desoldering stiffer wires from a heat bed, a lot of times you can rip those pads right off that they're soldered to, and then you end up having to replace your heated bed. So I would say be very careful with that. It can be done, yes. Should it be done? Manufacturers, I believe, should be doing it. And if it costs them a little bit more, well, make that available to the consumer on the other end. You know, cover your costs. And but at the end of the day, do you need to do it? No, you don't.
Now,
because go ahead, Brian.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say the only hesitation I have towards this, and it's just a better understanding of what it is the silicone sleeve on there is just allowing more flexibility in the conduit. So if you're having, a lot of movements, the thing about the regular shielding, if you will, around the wire is that it does have some rigidity to it, and so it tries to go and has a bit of a compression factor, so your wire will not try and buckle on a single fine point. It'll try and kind of bend itself. Now, when you go to a silicone wire, because it's completely compressible, you actually can create pinch points in the wire and do extra strain. And at the end of the day, you're kind of doing a trade-off here. You're trading the insulation compression for now the wire being bent back and forth over time. And so, my opinion is whenever you're dealing with higher power items, go with the silicone wire because number one, you're going to give it a path to which it's not going to flex as hard. But if it does flex quite a bit on one point, you're less likely to work your way through the insulation and create an electrical short. But that being said, you do have to keep a better eye on it because now you're putting a lot more bending on the copper on the inside, or whatever material they have. And I think they're copper, but mine kind of looked like aluminum. Anyways, the flex there, it will wear down on the wires over time. So as much as silicone wires are a great thing, they're not the end-all be-all to make sure that your wires don't break. You have to look at designing with strain relief in mind. You have to design with routing in mind. And honestly, a lot of printers just kind of skip on that fact, which is why we end up with so many burnt-out beds.
All right, so getting on to the next question. I hope that answered the question that we were looking at.
Yeah.
Trevor Rickard says, I upgraded my CR-10 to a direct drive and one that you all recommended on Thingiverse, and now I'm having some issues looking like it's under extruding. Didn't know if I needed to change my E-steps. I would say if it's a direct drive, you're probably going to have to alter your E-steps a little bit, either up or down. Usually it's going to be on the upper.
Trevor, is that the one that I did the video on about the Ender 3 direct drive? If that's the case, your E-steps will stay at 93. What it sounds like, you got to remember when you're setting up these direct drive setups, if you're going with the traditional Bowden setup and you start messing around with those Bowdens, there's always a chance that you've introduced a little air gap down in the hot end too. So I would just triple check your entire hot end assembly with that. If all you did was just chop it out and it doesn't sound like it's clogging, so I would say your E-steps are probably fine. I would heat it up nice and warm and try to flow maybe 200 millimeters through it and just see if it's catching on itself or if it is flowing through freely.
All right, so now we've got a question here from Carl Ball, which came in through email. He says, hello, I was following your video how to set up Marlin with a BLTouch, and everything was going good till I got this error message, and fork exec C program, Arduino hardware tools, AVR bin, blah, blah, blah. The file name or extension is too long. Error compiling for board Arduino Mega or Mega 2560. I have a Windows 10, and so far I've heard that it has trouble with large files for the Arduino or something of that nature. I have no real PC programming know-how, so any tips or steps to fixing this would be great. Okay. Yes, let's address the problem with the Arduino Mega. Probably what's happening there is that there's 4 different Arduino Megas that you can pick from once you've picked the Arduino Mega. If you're doing this in Marlin or you're doing this in the Arduino IDE, and I don't recommend that you do that anymore. I recommend that you use Visual Studio Code because it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot easier to navigate, and it will handle those larger file names to some extent. Windows itself does not like large, long file trails. For whatever reason, Windows has always had a problem with that. Even way back with the original Windows 3.0, which I'm old enough to know about and have had. Some of our audience will probably have had those 11 floppy disks that you had to throw into the computer one at a time just to load
Missed by
those.
5 1/4.
But yes, I would first of all go into the Visual Studio Code, load some stuff in. I believe, Brian, you're working on a episode to how to get people running with Visual Studio Code. Are you not?
Yeah, we're going to dive into depth with it because they've changed the UI a couple times since I started out with it. Now, Visual Studio Code, you may still encounter this same issue, and what it comes down to is that specific error is saying it's trying to access a folder, but the file name is too long. Now, that doesn't mean the actual end file, the little .cpp file. That's the whole address. And so with Windows, a lot of software doesn't like addresses longer than 255 characters. And it doesn't take a lot to get to that when you have, C drive, users, Brian, documents, folder, blah, blah, blah. You keep going on. It doesn't take long to get over that threshold. So what I tell people is try and create some folder on the root of your C drive, call it Marlin, or create something at a fairly low level on your disk drive or on a secondary disk drive even. And just keep it short, keep it only about 2 or 3 directories deep. And then you're never going to have these compilation issues of either file not found or address is too long.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any tips for stopping filament twisting in the Bowden tube and causing the extruder to jump and grind the filament? This is from SKW Diesel 1.
Well, the filament twisting is a side effect of the actual issue.
Yes. So
yeah.
Why is if your filament is twisting inside your Bowden tube, that first of all that shouldn't be happening because it comes in on a straight path. Mm-hmm. So if you've I've got some filament here. If you've got filament that's coming in on a straight path, look at that. I even broke the end. It's kind of dry in here.
Nice.
It should stay straight. It shouldn't do this inside the Bowden tube. I don't know if people can see that or not, but it shouldn't do this inside the Bowden tube. If it's doing this inside the Bowden tube, then that means this is already twisted a couple of times before it's before you're putting it into the extruder. So just pull it out, try and get a nice clean path, make sure that you don't have any curls in it as it's going into the extruder, and that should solve your problem.
Yeah, and it sounds like, basically, if it's starting to spiral up in there and then it's starting to bounce back, that is what we consider a partial or a full clog. So either there's something basically preventing it from flowing at the rate you're trying to flow it, and I highly doubt you're firing it at a high rate. Now, if you had a non-dual gear extruder, a traditional Creality one, the filament might grind or it might back up, but it won't pop. But because the dual gear has such a death grip on that filament, it's going to move forward at all costs. And in your case, it's bouncing back because it's basically overcoming the torque threshold of what your motor current is set at. If you had, let's say, infinite torque in the world, eventually your Bowden tube would fail and pop out because that would be the point that can no longer handle that back pressure from the clogging filament. So I would probably ask for from you, Diesel, which printer, what assembly in particular, is it direct drive, is it Bowden, and then based off that, it still sounds like something's clogging in your hot end. So I would triple check your fan is cooling enough, that there's no blockages in there, and that if it is a Bowden setup, it's inserted properly.
Yeah, well, he says it's the Ender 3 that he's running with.
Oh, okay. Ender
Standard
3 with
Ender
a dual
extruder.
gear.
So the plastic single gear with the idler. But it shouldn't,
it sounds
again,
like
it shouldn't
yeah,
be spinning inside that Bowden tube unless it's already coming in spun. Like the,
yeah.
if
I
I
think
can
we're
explain this, the easiest way is if you've taken this and you put it in and then you've twisted this around somehow, that's the only way this would be coming in to the extruder twisted, unless you have a crack in the plastic housing of that extruder gear on the arm where the idler is. Sometimes that cracks over time, it just breaks. So what you'll want to do first and foremost is get that plastic one off there and upgrade to a machined metal one. Thank you, Mike Kirk, for the super chat.
Super chat.
We do appreciate that. But getting back to Diesel's question, yes, I would say it's probably the extruder that's causing your problem, and it's because there's not enough tension there. And it's probably because you've got that crack in it. So I would, he says, I changed it out because of that. So did you change it out to a plastic one or a metal one? Because you can buy plastic replacements. So just double check that.
And Ben Bray is saying true. With those dual gear extruders, there are a bunch of cheap ones out there that can sometimes the secondary coupling gear can buckle at an angle and start grinding into its own frame. I've had a handful of those, but you can get the little slide-in inserts online fairly cheap and replace them before they're an actual problem. And I've had no problems with mine since.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, you're saying it's all metal dual gear. If your hot end is all metal, again, I would triple check your torque with your nozzle and everything too.
Yeah. And then you'll suss out the problem. If you've got a dual gear extruder on there, first of all, there's no way it can twist because two gears are going to grab it and it's not going to twist. So I'd say it's probably in your hot end then. So I would go back and double check that. 3D Print Newbie Milan, you guys told me that use the Creality camera. My question is, what do you think of the Creality Wi-Fi box, and what is your opinion on using
the camera with the Wi-Fi box? He corrected below.
Yeah, I couldn't quite see the rest of that. So the Wi-Fi box I haven't tested. I don't know. So I'll be perfectly honest with you. I have no idea what their Wi-Fi box does or what it is capable of doing at this stage. So I don't really have an answer on that. But as far as the camera goes, I love the camera. The camera seems to work great. I do know that if you are buying that camera, and I found this out the hard way, is you have to download the API. They no longer have on the Google Play Store that app. So you have to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they had to pull that. That's really weird.
I don't know, but you can go through a back end and get an API. And when I do find it, I will post it over on our Facebook because I had to do the same thing. And I can't remember exactly where I got it, but I will go ahead and make sure that API address is available for any of you guys that have that camera. I think that camera works stellar. I think I've got a machine here that we can pull up that is actually showing that camera right now. Let me see what I got here. So I've got my old Samsung here.
For myself, I've kind of actually moved away from all these print management things. I just like it direct on the SD card, but I'm also doing 5-day prints. So, I mean, your mileage may vary, but if you're doing lots of small little things like that, you're not going to need, Mike Kirk Jr. is correct. Richard meant APKs. You know, it's been
APK,
one of those
I'm
weeks.
sorry, yeah.
Oh,
Samsung starting up.
We tend to get mixed up ourselves too. But the question is, do you want to monitor your print or do you want to also run your print? Right, and that was the big thing with the Creality camera. It was both monitor and run. For myself, I monitor all my printers using a Wisecam, and that's just my preference there. Now, I can't stop it if something goes wrong, but I can call somebody and say, hey, it doesn't look very good. Maybe I should stop this. And the other thing with the Wisecam is if you put an SD card in it, you can actually, if your print fails, you can jump back several hours and see what happened when it failed.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if I got that camera on my phone. There we go. I do have that camera on my phone. Now, for whatever reason, logging into the Creality app, and you can't see my password there anyway, so is going to give you a fail message now. For whatever reason, you can't actually log into Creality, but you can log into the printer itself, because there's a little icon up in the corner. If you hit that, it'll turn it on. Here we've got the Creality printer going, and I'm just going to pull it up here so you can see. It's in the dark, so oh, it went back. Come on. There we go. Can't really see much is going on there because the light from the LCD is causing the camera not to bring up anything. But yeah, it's I use it just for monitoring. So and once in a while I'll record some stuff onto the SD card that I've got in the camera.
Yeah, this is what I use the Wisecam app for. Is I actually mounted the camera right on my printer, and I'll just monitor it wherever I'm at. For a $40 camera, it does the job. These cameras all have night vision abilities now, so you can go and see it with infrared in the dark and all that, and that's all I need for myself. I guess it just depends on what you guys want to do.
Yeah, the other thing he's asking is 3D Print Newbie Milan. It says, okay, cool, thank you for the information. Can you view the camera through a tablet, or does it have to be on your phone? No, you can view it through the tablet. I've got it set up on this tablet right here. I don't have it on this tablet. This is the tablet I need to put it on. But yes, you can put it on your tablet, and it works exactly the same way. So it's just going to take up a little bit more screen real estate, so it's a little easier to see.
And just because we can play with all the awesome features here, I can probably show you guys this. If you didn't notice, right beside me here, I have got a Wisecam pan, and this one's for actually monitoring all the stuff in here. And what I like about this, if I go and hop back to my other camera setup here, this one's special because it actually has a pan tilt zoom on it. So if I go here, let's see if I can pull it up on my computer and show you guys. I have a few too many cameras if you can't tell. Okay, if we go over to this guy here, we can see here's my live stream right now. Hello! But I can actually drag it around. If I exit the full screen here, they give you arrow controls, and so I can pan it around remotely and look at all my machines. And I can also look up and down. So you can, there's lots of cheap options out there, and this camera is maybe, $60 US or so. No, sorry, 60 Canadian. So it's super cheap.
There you go.
But that's why I use monitoring my, and then now the downside, Mike Kirk Jr., another tip, with an APK emulator, you can run that camera on your computer if you like. That's true. I actually run an application called Nox Player. It's just the easiest one to set up for a lot of people, and it runs virtual Android on your computer. So if you get that, you can run, and that's right now I'm basically using AnyDesk to remote into my phone, but at work I monitor my Wisecams through this little app.
Okay, so I think that pretty much eliminates our questions there. By the way, you guys, if we've answered your questions in the chat this evening and you found the information that we're doing on the show useful, please feel free to help us out by hitting that little dollar sign down at the bottom. That's called a super chat. It helps us to produce new content. So we can get things in, because sometimes we don't get everything sent to us for free. It all comes out of our pockets for the most part. We've been lucky with printer reviews that we've been doing lately. They have been coming to us. But that being said, not all printers are created equally. We're finding that out.
I received a piece of equipment on Friday that I pre-ordered, and it finally showed up. And I have no brand loyalty at all to this company right now. So, will it be a good review? I don't know. As soon as I find the power adapter, I will let you know. That's where we're sitting at right now. Everything we're doing is kind of out of pocket, and unfortunately, we're catching back on the filament price fiasco that's finally mellowing out.
Super chat.
Thank you, Joseph Jolly, for the super chat. We do appreciate it. We've got another question that came in through email, and this is from Michael Nelson. He says, could you tell me the name of the colors you use for washes in the Han Solo and Superman busts that he's seen in the videos? Are you thinning them to be like transparent colors? Also, could transparent colors from Createx works the same? I've never used the Createx products, but yes, any acrylic paint thinned down properly can give you a wash. I have done full body and basics paints from Liquitex in the tube. I've done those. I've thinned them down with my airbrush thinner mix, and it works just like a wash. Now, where you have to be careful is if the pigments that you're using are very pigmented. So that means like if you're using an FW inks wash, which I use a lot of, and I've used a lot of on both of those pieces back there, you want to make sure that you really water them down if you're going to do washes, and slowly build up the color for your wash. So when you paint your wash on, it's not drying darker than it needs to be in areas that you don't want it to be. I use a dabbing method, and we've got a new show coming up, or a new channel that we're starting. Brian and I have been talking about this for quite a while, and we got you guys involved, and the official name, I can tell you now, is The Last Layer. It is going to be a show just dedicated to showing you how to take your prints from the printed stage to the finishing stage and get them all looking nice and professional. If you're into statues or you're into other things that need to be painted, we're going to show you how to do that, and that will pretty much be resting on my shoulders completely, because Brian doesn't do that sort of thing. But Jess may pop in from time to time because she does a lot of cosplay, so we may be talking about cosplay pieces on a few episodes. Mostly we're going to be dealing with statue stuff, kind of like this. This is one I've been working on of Poison Ivy. This is Poison Ivy from the Arkham Knight game, I believe. And I'm just trying to get my colors down right now, and you guys will be able to see that. This is going to be available, not from us, but from another company, as a garage kit that will be professionally cast in resin, so that if you're interested, the STLs will not be available for these, but there will be resin castings made of the model once I have cleaned it and got everything to fit properly. So getting back to painting. Painting is something that not everybody does, but everybody would like to have done for them. We will be taking commissions once that show starts as well, so that will help drive some of our content as well. So we're going to review the kits, see how well they fit after they come off the printer. And what else are we doing on that show, Brian? You remember?
No, I don't remember much anymore. I'm just here.
So watch out for that. We're not sure if we're going to start it before the end of the year or not, because we still have to build up content, but just keep watching. We'll let you know when the first episode is going to go up. And they're going to be series. So something that we're working on, let's say we'll use Ivy again here as a example. This will be a series. We'll take you from it coming off the printer right through to putting the final gloss coats and protective coatings on it so that it can sit on your shelf for years to come. Okay?
Absolutely. And now that will never deviate from this channel, just so you guys know. We're not going to all of a sudden slow down our production rate for this channel. It's more so there are certain topics that are beneficial to everybody that don't you know, they might deviate a little too much from where we're going right now with the first layer. And so we want to keep it kind of smooth content so we're not jumping all over the place there. So this is more the overflow of, hey, you know, now you want to go that extra mile. Here's some options to look into.
Right. And this is going to be geared at hobbyist painters and people like that. Not everybody wants to finish their piece. Sometimes people just want to print it and put it on the shelf, like this lovely lady right here. You know, you just want to print her and put her on her shelf because she looks so dang good. There's no
Like
reason.
my Luke head that your wife promised to finish like 6 months ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure what box that's in at the moment.
Oh boy, yeah.
But it's somewhere. But yeah, you know, if you want to finish pieces, we're going to be talking about cosplay pieces on there as well. So there's going to be all kinds of really cool and nifty stuff going on over there. So we'll let you know when that channel launches, and watch for little playlists that'll be on specific pieces each time we do it. So
yeah, Ben Brady's got it right. Functional prints don't need painting, and that's
exactly.
100% of what I do. That's why nothing's painted. I might choose a funky filament color for something, but usually it's going right on a machine.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to change that a little bit. Mostly for me, it's because I've accepted a certain level of deviances with my print quality, and so now that I'm trying to dial that in, that's what's been eating most of my time right now. So
yeah.
Hopefully I'll have something cool to show you guys soon. I know I've given Goo the heads up of what I've been working on, and a couple other select people on the channel, and you'll see it's something big.
Yes,
it takes a few kilos of filament.
It does. Yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So I hope to have you guys come along for the journey. Even if you're not interested, we'd like you to just at least at some point in time go and check it out when it is available, and let us know what you think. If you like the content over there, please let us know. We won't be doing live streams, and that content will be coming out not every week. It'll be like every second week or every third week or once a month. We haven't decided yet exactly what the schedule is going to be.
In reality, it's going to be it's ready when it's ready. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
The main thing about putting the finishing touches on there is you're putting the finishing touches on there. You're not going to be a Da Vinci. You're not going to keep just working on it till the end of time, right? It's going to be, hey, here's the progress we've made, whether it's a weekly progress update or a monthly progress update. But the main thing is you get to see start to finish how to get it where you like it. And we're not going to teach. We'll teach you to an extent how to paint, but mostly it's going to be working within the 3D printing space.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all going to be on 3D printed parts and pieces that, you know, who knows? Maybe you want to get into the business of printing and painting statues for sale. You may want to do that. And we can certainly show you the steps to getting quality looking pieces at the end. So, yeah. So that's all we're going to say about that. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that is coming, and it will be something cool. What are we looking at here for time? We have been on for
45 minutes or so.
45 minutes or so. So we got about 15 minutes to go. Please put your questions in the chat so that we can continue. Jason Peters, thank you very much. We got to give you the
super chat.
There you go, super chat. I always love super chats. They help us.
I love it, but guys, you should ask a question when you send us a super chat.
Yes.
We always feel bad. You know, we'd love to go and keep the discussion going. So, Ben, I was trying to make a bad joke when you said about if you want a camo colored printer control box, because then you wouldn't have a control box because there is no control box. I'm making bad puns today, guys. It was minus 22 Celsius overnight. We've gotten a good 6 inches of snow. I just haven't left the house, and so I don't know. I'm going a little stir crazy.
Yeah, I've got to go out and see a client tomorrow to do some work on his printer and teach him how to use his brand new resin printer. And I look so forward to doing that and spending some time outside of my house too, because I've been cooped up in the house here for a while. And yeah, as you can tell, I haven't shaved because I haven't gone out anywhere. So 12 Celsius in Sharana, Ontario.
Yeah, I spoke with one of my customers the other day, and it was 25 nearby Toronto. I was a bit pissed off, to say the least.
So coming next week for you guys, we have a new printer that is currently on a Kickstarter. We're going to be showing you that next week. I want to tell you about that. It is a dual extruder machine from a company called WeDo. And we are going to be having a lot of fun with that one. Then we've got the Bluer Plus to show you, which is going to be coming out. We're still trying to work out some problems with the 4-in-1 that we've been having, and as soon as those problems are fixed, we'll get that one out to you as well. And then I think that takes care of all of our printer reviews that we have on tap right now. So we're hoping to get an Anycubic Mono X here in the studio, and then when we do that, we'll be talking a lot more about resin for a while. For those of you guys that are into resin right now, let me tell you that resin I am finding to be a real, not a challenge, but a real pleasure to see the quality of prints that come off resin printers. So I really do enjoy them. And we've got some great stuff that we're working on for next year. Next year's theme is radio control for the summer. And Brian and I are both chomping at the bit to get started on that. And get our people back in place to help us out again. And we want to thank all those that helped us out with our rocket project this year, including PM Hobbycraft here in Calgary at pmhobbycraft.ca, our friends over at Solar Botics who helped us out, and our good friend Tim over at KKP Printing who helped us out as well. We had a great time. Sunward Hobbies out in Ontario, we got our parachutes from them. They're great parachutes. They worked really well, and now we've got 3 30-inch parachutes that we got to put into other rockets. So yes, we have lots to do this winter. Good thing, because it's going to be cold and snowy this winter.
It's cold, snowy. No one's vacationing, so we're gonna be working on a lot of at-home projects here. And so we encourage you guys to come join us on that journey. And, with that, one thing I haven't really covered much is, as we deal with all these other hobbies, is there an interest out there in talking a bit more of the electronics behind them? Because a lot of the stuff I do, I just kind of do it on my own. But if there's an interest in learning that on the side, I may have some supplemental episodes on this channel or on my personal channel to supplement the electronics if people are interested. So let me know in the chat if that's something you want to see.
There you go. The Lewis Eric says yes. Yes. We are going to do more electronics projects. Electronics are not my forte. If you ask me to build you a computer, I can certainly do that with my eyes closed, because I've been doing it since way before the 286 days. But if you gave me 3 wires to wire your house, I'd probably burn it down. Because it just, for whatever reason, it's just not my thing. That being said, that's why I refer to Brian when it comes to electronics all the time. Now,
my career is industrial controls, so you guys are going to see all sorts of different electrical implementations of stuff I do randomly. And it's just because, I'm not one to produce a lot of detailed content on that sort of stuff. But, it's been on the back burner a while to talk more about how a printer works at a basic level. And it might be a dry topic for some people, but I think it's valuable.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's a lot of things that 3D printers can do. And there's a lot of things that we want to do with you as a beginner. If you're a beginner coming into the hobby, or you're sort of a novice or intermediate level, that's kind of where we stop, is at that intermediate level. We don't kind of go into the expert level. And the reason is because our audience, for the most part, are beginners. Now, we have some really good people in here, like Ben Brady, who has been doing this probably as long as we have. And he has a good electrical background, so that is a good thing. And there's a few others in our little circle of people here in our community that have knowledge that far surpasses what I know and what Brian knows. But
Absolutely.
we can offer our guides to what we do. Brian and I have both been doing 3D printing now for almost 4 years. I think I'm almost coming up on 5 now.
And this is, at the hobbyist level. I was doing 3D printing back in college, back in 2007 or so, when they had those slice machines and the powder and all that gross stuff. And I also have a background in robotics. So
There you go.
between the two of us, we've got this really weird collective knowledge, and we can do some pretty cool stuff with it together. But we still go back to the community and ask you guys. I think I saw it mentioned earlier. There was a question about Luke Hadfield's hot end fix, and I haven't done it because I went a different route. But that man knows his stuff. If you ever run into Luke Hadfield, he knows Creality machines inside and out, and he's got this amazing guide. I can't even begin to tell you how detailed it is. I think it's like a couple hundred pages too, with every fix possible for a Creality machine. So I believe it's posted on the official Creality group. Now there's 5 or 6 of them. But,
we have
there's a PDF in there, and it's great. And maybe we'll chat with Luke, and if he gives us permission, we'll repost that on the first layer for you guys.
We actually have it on the first layer in the file section.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, it's in the file section. It's also a PDF download that you can get from the First Layer website. It is up there as well. So if you want to get a hold of Luke's book, it is a free PDF that you're all entitled to have a look at, download, and take from it what you will. It is a great resource of information on tuning up Creality machines more specifically, but it can be carried over to other printers as well. Somebody else I want to recognize that's not really a part of our community but has done great work for the community is Michael over at Teaching Tech. Now, Michael has done some great stuff. I find his content a little dry personally sometimes, but the information is great information. I mean, he does a really good job. So I recommend that you guys, if you haven't yet, check those guys out and subscribe to Michael's channel, Teaching Tech, over on YouTube. It's definitely a worthwhile channel to keep in your back pocket.
Yeah, Michael knows his stuff, and generally, truth be told, I'm getting ready to review something, and he drops a video, and I watch him like, man, he would have blown my content out of the water, because when he does a review, he goes quite in depth, and he's like me. When I get nervous, you can tell that nervous smile in a person, So some of us aren't naturally designed to smile, and as you guys saw in my last few videos there, I was reading off a teleprompter, and I was very nervous, and the comments told me so. So now everything's kind of candid again, and we'll see how that goes for future episodes. Michael's awesome. Also, he smiles twice a year.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
You know what, though, Michael? The one thing, his new kind of basic printer, it was a thought I had back in my mind, the basic printer calibration of generate a G-code file that you can give to everybody, and hey, ignore printer settings and all that. This is what you're expected to look like. What are you getting? And then we could play with that. But the detail he went with that diagnostics page of his, I use that baseline G code all the time. There was only, I'm trying to remember, I think there was one headache I had with it. I think it had to do with nozzle size. But apart from that, it's just been my go-to for calibration, because I can use that if I don't trust my slicer settings anymore, which is huge.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, guys, it doesn't look like we have any more questions this evening. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to cut it a little short tonight. It is, after all, October, and we do, in my house, in the month of October, I don't know about you guys, but in my house, every night we watch a horror movie. And I just found out today that Creature from the Black Lagoon is going to be on one of our movie channels. And
nice.
So I set it up to record. This is the 1954
nice.
Creature from the Black Lagoon movie. And my wife hates black and white old-timey movies, but I love them. I just watched Dracula the other night, the original with Bela Lugosi.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And I got to tell you guys, if you're not into horror movies, but you like some of the old Universal monster classics, try and find them as best you can on Hulu or Netflix or Amazon or wherever you get your movie content from, because they are absolutely great. A snapshot says, Richard, I hope life is returning a bit back to normal for you and yours. Thank you, guys. It is. Again, I want to thank you guys all for your condolences and allowing us to breathe and not have to concentrate on this for a few weeks. and allow us to get through what we had to get through. It's a tough time in our life, because we were so close with my mother-in-law, and I don't want to get into it because I'll get emotional. But that being said, thank you again to everybody for your support, and thank you everybody for the super chats tonight. Thanks,
Much
Brian,
appreciated. Thank you.
for coming home to be with us again.
Thank you. Well, hey, I've now got the second camera that you saw tonight.
There you go.
This is my on the go camera now. So hopefully I can take this with me when I'm stuck out in the field and give you guys at least the live episodes. Recording something in the hotels kind of tricky, but recording here not too bad. So I'll try and join you guys on Saturdays if I'm traveling. Hopefully my travel is going to calm down a little bit towards the end of the year here, but you can't predict anything. So we'll do the best we can.
That is very true. So until we see you guys again, remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print, and thank you for being a part of our community. Till next time.
Bye for now.
And we're out.
Cool.